we're back here at Mr. Dillon's property. It's been 1 year, and Dave did carry out some of the spraying, but he also made some other management decisions. With NRCS in our financial assistance through our programs, we do have multiple different ways that you can approach this, and with what Dave carried out, that is part of what is covered, as long as at some point that there is some spraying involved. So Dave, if you can just give us a little bit of synopsis of what you guys did last year and how we got to this point.
Yeah, we in the front part of the property where the autumn olive wasn't quite as thick, we sprayed it all, and these are some of the examples of what we did. But when we got back here, it got so thick and we had so much trouble trying to spray it that we decided to bring in a forest mulcher. And he mulched all this, and our intent was to come back in a year later and spray whatever came back up. But you'll see the results as we go forward, and Greg will be explaining some of that to us.
So what we're gonna do here then is, we're gonna walk through the property and show you what we're looking at and where you go from there in making future management decisions, and then also maybe what to do as a follow-up of how to establish something else to prevent them from taking back.
Hello, it's Charlie again, back with the Alpena Montmorency Conservation District, and we're doing a follow-up to our first video, integrated pest management. And invasive species is our top priority at the Conservation District. It's a very common thing, like I mentioned in the first video, and we're out here again in the property we were at last year. We did some spray treatments. And then there were some other activities that took place. And so from a conservation district standpoint, this is the kind of involvement we have with landowners across our district that are encountering this autumn olive problem on their properties. And we have some good results to go through today. And I'm going to turn it over to Greg to talk specifics about what we see out here now after these treatments. Spray treatments as well as a mulching treatment. So Greg, let's get into how this all looks.
Yeah, again, we'll just make the point that a very critical part of integrated pest management is the monitoring phase, so that we know the effectiveness of our decisions beforehand, or decisions that were made, and then we can follow up and adapt as necessary. So as we talked about in the first video, we're here primarily talking about autumn olive. Here's a mature plant that really represents kind of a control for us today. This was not treated in any way. It shows you kind of the potential on this site for this plant to grow. Berries will be coming out in the next few weeks. In general, it does real well on the site. It takes over the site if you let it be. And then we can move over here. And what you will see really is the results, I believe, right around 1 year later of the spray alone treatment. Again, the protocol we use for the spray is covered in the first video, but this is the results when you just spray the plant and then give it time. You'll see it's dry enough that these smaller branches are breaking off easily. Couple winters from now, and this plant will really start breaking down because of snow load and wind conditions.
Okay, so we're over here on a site, on part of the site that was mulched, and we're in our monitoring process. We're looking for what's resprouted in the mulching process. This entire area back here was mulched, and right here you'll see we got some resprouting of autumn olive coming up right here. Okay, they're coming up in clumps, much like the tree was. And this is all autumn olive right here. This is autumn olive. Here's a Scots pine coming up, and we didn't see any resprouts up by the sprayed stuff, but we're seeing some resprouts down here where it was mulched. as you can see, these plants have stump sprouted after being cut off, and they're coming back much like the tree was in a much more robust fashion. These are pretty large. This is a year or so, a little more than a year after being cut. And now you're going to have in about another 2 years, these plants are going to be probably 5-6 feet tall again. So, Greg, what else you got to say about that?
Yeah, so the stump sprouting doesn't really surprise me. These plants, these are deciduous plants, and they store their energy in their root system during the dormant season. So when you mow these and get stump sprouting, it's a function of those resources in the roots coming back up the plant and giving enough energy for it to send off new growth. The whole idea of doing the mulching here, though, was to get these plants at a more reasonable height for management. So as Charlie says, they're going to be maybe 5 feet tall in the next year or two. And at that point, the landowner's going to come back in and apply the spray treatments. So I think what we're getting at here is that from the objective of actually killing plants, the spray treatments seem to be significantly more effective. The mowing treatments help you get the plant to a point where it's easier to treat, and in theory, you're probably spending less money on herbicide too, because it's just less of a plant to spray in the long run. But stump sprouting is a natural occurrence and something that you see a lot with these deciduous plants if herbicide treatment's not included.
So we had a chance to look at some of the results of doing the mulching and spraying. So we're looking at the site now. Things to consider as a landowner is just your time with the project and also the money that you might have available. And with NRCS, the financial assistance that we have, it's financial assistance. It's not designed to cover the full cost. So take that account. With Dave here, they made the decision based on what they felt that would help them in addressing the problem. But with that, the money involved, that was, I think he said, about 6 hours spent with a roller chopper, and it came to about $900. So I guess looking at that, which Dr. Gregg had mentioned, is you're going to be spending a little bit less money on herbicide, but costs went up elsewhere. Things for you to consider also is local contractors. You may have someone in the area to where you live that might be able to come and do that project, and they set their own rates, so they might be a little bit higher. So making your management decisions, take a look at the whole picture and what works for you. Your conservation district, NRCS, can help guide you in making the plan work for you. So what we're going to get into next is just taking a look at the whole area, what we can expect with managing the autumn olive and some of the other vegetation that's present, and how we should move forward with that to help Dave plan to help him meet his goals for the property.
All right, we're wrapping up now, and I really want to just touch on the overarching goal again of the landowners, and it primarily rests within the concept of wildlife habitat and the diversity of wildlife species that are on the site. The landowners do hunt, but they also like non-game species as well. This property that they have is actually very diverse in terms of wildlife, in part because the array of different vegetation types out here, the structure and composition of this vegetation. On the west side of the property, there's some hayland that provides habitat for a lot of grassland birds, bobolink, eastern meadowlark, and the like. As you move to the east, it becomes more vegetated with woody vegetation, and you get a shrubland bird community, for example. But one of the issues they deal with as you head east on the property is plants like Scots pine, the non-native Scots pine, kind of taking over the site, or potentially taking over the site. So it may be the landowner does some treatments with the Scots pine, which are really simple. You just have to either mow it down or take a chainsaw and cut it, because it won't resprout. And then after he does treat this, he may come in and plant conifers on the site to reforest the site. Eastern white pine would do excellent here. Red pine would probably do well out here, and white spruce. would also probably do well out here. So again, we were talking about monitoring. Another aspect is really every step in the process, ask yourself, how is this helping the landowner meet its goals? And I think that's what we've been doing throughout the